And this is a Fox News election alert inside the strategy room tonight with breaking election news. Brand new exit polling coming into Fox from West Virginia right now. We're going to break down what we have so far with David Serrata on the left and Margaret Hoover on the right. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi. Okay, so here we go. Just a few interesting results coming in. First of all, the headline: Hillary Clinton is doing well with all the groups we thought she was going to do well with. That's not a huge surprise, but let me go through a couple of the more interesting results we've gotten so far with you. Number one, we asked about the Reverend Wright issue. This isn't just Fox News. This is all news organizations asking whether the Reverend Wright issue is playing out. Do voters think that Obama shares Wright's views? Look at that. 51%, the majority of Democrats in West Virginia say yes, he does. Let's just stop right there. Margaret, let me ask you, that's not good for Barack Obama, but it's lower than we've seen in earlier states. What does it tell you?
What it tells us is that West Virginia has a religious population. I mean, this is the place where when George Bush campaigned there in 2004 against Senator Kerry, he said they sent out actually literature that said John Kerry will burn your Bibles. I mean, there are things that really resonate amongst some very religious constituents there in West Virginia. So the Reverend Wright issue is obviously a polarizing issue and is going to be very much more polarizing in a constituency that is heavily religious.
What about it, David? Because West Virginia is an important state. This is just Democrats. Based on the national polling, we can assume the number is higher among Republicans. This cannot bode well for Barack Obama come the general election.
Well, but I think you hit the right point. I think when you said at the beginning that this is down from where those numbers have been, I think that says that what Barack Obama has done over the last couple of weeks, which is distance himself from Reverend Wright, I think that says that people are hearing that message and understand that this is a candidate who is more than the sum of people that he knows, that he actually stands on his own.
Okay, moving on to the next result that we have coming in. We asked voters, regardless of how you actually voted at the polls today, would you be satisfied if Hillary Clinton wins or if Barack Obama wins? They said 72%, yeah, I'll be satisfied if Clinton wins. Just 44% said they would be satisfied if Barack Obama wins this nomination. David, your reaction to that?
Well, what I think this doesn't say very much about the general election, and I know that people have talked about how these kinds of polls, what they mean for an individual nominee, and I think the issue is that most Democrats, most Republicans, most voters come home to their parties in the general election. So I don't think they're really telling us that much.
Margaret, what do you think? Those are pretty huge disparities, 72% versus 44%?
Big disparities, but at the end of the day, look, there's this narrative going on in television that says this is basically over for Hillary Clinton. And really, the number is 225. If anybody gets to 2025, they're going to do it. And honestly, there's some 200 points between the two of them, but there's 200 superdelegates that are out. There's plenty of 5 states left that have left to vote. She's going to come away and peel away from his advantage today in West Virginia. So we just don't know until the end.
But the thing that this poll, the reason we ask this question is because we want to sort of tap into whether people really will jump ship from the Democratic Party come the general election, trying to assess how unhappy will you be? Would you be so unhappy that you'd switch parties, you'd vote for John McCain? David, it seems like with 44% of the West Virginia voters saying, I will not be satisfied if Barack Obama gets that nomination, that he's going to have some work to do in West Virginia. And keep in mind, that's a mostly working class state. That's the area he's had trouble with.
Oh, no doubt that Barack Obama is going to have to do a lot of work among all sorts of constituencies. I mean, he is a new candidate. He's a new face on the American political scene. All I'm really saying is that when you ask people in the heat of a primary whether they're going to be satisfied with the candidate that they don't support in that primary, there's going to be an inflated number of people who are going to say that they might not vote for that person or they're going to be dissatisfied with that person. And all I'm saying is that in a general election, many of those voters tend to come back to their own party.
Yeah, you think they're going to dislike John McCain more than they dislike Barack Obama right now. All right, let me get to the third poll that we have for this moment, and that is, should Hillary Clinton keep going? That's not exactly how we phrased it, but we said, essentially, would you prefer to see her stay in with the possibility at least of winning, or you want her to dump out now? 78% are saying, stay in it, Hillary. What does that tell you, Margaret?
Well, here's the thing, though, Megan, is that really the Democratic Party is basically evenly divided. I mean, there's, like I said, only 200-some delegates difference between them in pledged delegates and superdelegates.
It seems so big when you just think about it in terms of delegates.
You know what? The reason, but it's not so big. It's so close when you think about it in terms of delegates. And that's the thing. It totally belies the narrative that she should get out now, because really it is close. And how can she say she doesn't have enough justification right now to stop, to pull out, because half of the Democratic Party has voted for her.
Yeah.
So she really needs to keep going until it is just definitively that it is impossible for her to get the 2025 votes, which she's just not there yet. She has every reason to stay in.
Well, we're going to have a full report a little bit later, but I can tell you from what we're seeing right now, there's definitely reason for Hillary Clinton to be happy based on these preliminary exit polls, but the polls are still open. Things can change. In the meantime, David Sirota and Margaret Hoover, thanks so much for being here.